Okay, so Parshas Toldos, we're talking about the twins, Yaakov and Esav. They were not identical, very, very different. Yaakov was known to be very studious and good, the goody-goody, easy. And Esav was known to be wild, wayward, a tough nut. Probably more fun, though. And their father, Yitzchak, he was known to be very pious and holy, and so much so that he never left the land of Israel. Like that's like one example. He was a very, very holy spiritual being. And you would think that someone like Yitzchak would clash with someone like Esav, who was the wild, wayward troublemaker son. Yet it says that that Yitzchak want to say liked, in the easy sense of the word, Esav better, or he appreciated Esav more, or something like that. So let's read what it says inside. Okay, and the question is, why would Yitzchak prefer Esav over Yaakov? The goody goody. Okay, so text number 1. I'll read it.
The lads grew up. Esau became a man who understood hunting, a man of the field. Jacob was a wholesome man, living in tents. Isaac loved Esau because he ate trappings, but Rebekah loved Jacob.
Oh, so very interesting. So here you have this very pious, holy, spiritual, very disciplined person, Yitzchak. How could he get, want to say, like sold, convinced, whatever the right word is, to love Esav more because he ate of his trappings, because Esav made him some good food? You think he'd fall just because he had a good steak? Oh, here's a good piece of steak. Okay, oh yeah, you're the greatest son, right? But seems that something doesn't seem right, because Yitzchak's very holy. He shouldn't seem to care so much about the steak. He's very structured, and here he has a son who's very wild and does his own thing. Oh, Shelly, you made it. Great. And Valentina, awesome. Okay. And you would say, hey, why is Yitzchak, why does he seem to like Esav? Especially why? Because he kind of tricks him and says he feeds him some good food. That's no tricks, but he feeds him some good food, and then he's sold. That's it. So what does it mean? Who understood hunting? And I'm also going to say, what does it mean? He ate of his let's see. He ate of his trappings. Okay, we're going to go a little bit into that. Okie dokie. Text number 2. Sylvia, can you read it? Just unmute. Unmute it. You have to unmute. Just find the unmute button. Let's see.
Hello.
Hi, Eileen. Okay.
Hi, I'm sorry I'm late. I was getting
problem.
the grandkids out the door.
Sylvia. Okay, great. Sylvia's about to read. Okay, go for it.
Yeah.
Who understood hunting? Esau knew how to trap and deceive his father with his mouth and ask him, Father, how do we give maser from salt and straw? His father thereby thought that he was scrupulous in his mitzvah observance.
Okay, so first of all, the word meiser means like tithe, like giving a tenth of your produce to the Kohen, and basically doesn't. Hi, who's that?
Hi, is that tithe?
Tithe, sorry.
Yeah,
sorry. Okay.
I just wanted to confirm.
Yeah. Okay, that's why it says Meister. Anyway, so he didn't actually, when it says trappings of his, he ate of his trappings, meaning that Esav tricked him, deceived his father with his mouth, saying he would ask him these questions that seemed like he was so intensely learning the Jewish law, and said, oh, wow, my son, he's a good learner. Yeah. So Esav pretended to be interested in Jewish law, and it's something very specific and minute, like how do we give the tithe? Is that how you say it, Eileen?
I think, I mean, I just wanted to
For
confirm that's
salt,
what you
yeah,
meant.
probably. I just learned it from reading. Okay, from
Yeah.
salt and straw. And so much so that Yitzchak wanted to bless Esav before his passing, before Yitzchak's passing. Now I'm getting old. I better bless my son. He wanted to bless Esav, not particularly Yaakov. Why is that? Okay, so let us see that's okay. So Esav, made himself like he was so religious, and so that's what it seems from the plain meaning. So Esav, Yitzchak wanted to bless him. Sorry, I'm just getting tongue-tied with all the different names. Okay, text number 3. Eileen, want to read it since you already have your?
Sure. And when Isaac grew old, his eyesight faded, and he could not see. He called Esav, his elder son, and said to him, "My son." Esav said to him, "Here I am." Isaac said, "Behold, if you please, I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now therefore, please take your equipment, your sword, and your bow, and go out to the field and trap deer for me. Make it into a tasty dish for me, the way I like it, and bring it to me that I may eat, so that my soul will bless you before I die."
Thank you. Okay, so what happens in the end? I'm assuming most of you know, but what happens in the end? Does Esav get his blessing?
Nope.
No, right. Instead, Rivka overhears it. She's like, "Oh no! We got to get Yaakov to get the blessing, not Esav." And she quickly makes some nice, delicious food for him. Prepares food, and she puts some like goat or sheep hair on his arm, so he seems hairy like Esav. And since Yitzchak is blind, he comes in with the food and he pretends that he's Esav, and Yaakov gets the blessings, right? And then Esav comes in all upset.
So was he part of the charade?
Who?
He must have known Jacob. I mean,
well, his mother told him, "You got to go do this. You need to get the So he knew what he was doing. He knew, and one of the translations of his name Yaakov is like that he tricked me to deceive. So Esav actually tells him once, "You deceived me once, and now you deceived me twice after this happens." So Yakuveni, no. Okay, I think Yakuveni, something. Okay. Anyway, so how could Yitzchak fall for this whole charade? I'm not talking about the charade what Yaakov and Rivka do, but I'm talking about the charade that Esav pretends that he's so holy and such a good boy, and he asks these deep halacha questions. And Yitzchak's no stupid fool. So how is it that he doesn't see through his son? Doesn't he see what he's really doing? Something seems a little bit fishy over here. Okay, Shelly, I got your. Hi, Shelly.
I fixed it.
I didn't see the first text. Okay.
But I'm here.
Great. And hi, Michelle. Okay, great. Anyway, so what was Esav accomplishing by asking this deep halacha question to his father about giving the tithe, about giving the 10th of his things that, his earnings, which, whatever, it's not really earnings, but let's call it earnings. Okay. So what's going on over here? How did he dupe his father into giving and wanting to give him the blessings? So we're going to read text number 4. So Shelley, go first since we got you now.
Okay. There is much to examine in these verses. How was Esau so convincingly wise as to deceive his saintly father? If he was someone who openly sat in tents and engaged in hunting secretly, there would have been room for error. But considering that he was a man of the field, exposed to all, then with what schemes and cunning did he deceive his father? Also, the Midrash, which says that he would trap and deceive him with his words, is likewise puzzling. How exactly did he mislead him?
Okay, so it's something that seems a little bit off. And even more so, if we say that Yitzchak was somehow misled, thinking that Esav was righteous, then why wouldn't he also want to bless Yaakov? Why does it have to be, one or the other? Why only Esav? And, what's going on over here? Okay, so that's text number 5, actually. That's the question of text number 5. Okay, Bot, you want to do it?
We must understand from the story, it seems that Isaac didn't want to bless Jacob at all. Why? Was he unaware that
Katya, we
Jacob?
can't hear you.
Oh,
Her thing isn't so good, her mic.
how's this? We must understand.
We hear you. I
Okay,
hear you.
it's
I hear.
okay. I don't want it to be like all muffled.
Okay,
So,
so
someone else.
okay, Catherine, are you able to read text number 5?
Sure.
Thanks.
But I could understand you well, Batya.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I could too.
Do you
Yeah, I
want to
can
go
hear you
back,
too. Yeah.
Batya?
You're
Or
just a little muffled, but you're good.
Bianca,
right.
unmute yourself. Okay.
Can you or not?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll read, but I just wanted you to finish if you wanted, then I can read next one.
The speakers in my laptop aren't working, so Suri in fact suggested to get a speaker. So here it is. We must understand from the story, it seems that Isaac didn't want to bless Jacob at all. Why? Was he unaware that Jacob was a wholesome man living in tents? Even if he thought Esau was righteous because he deceived his father with his mouth, we still don't find that he thought the opposite of Jacob.
Okay, so it doesn't say anywhere that Yitzhak thought Yaakov wasn't such a good person or anything like that. So why can't we just bless both of them? What's going on over here? Okay, so just recap of the questions.
Was Esau older than Jacob?
So they were twins, but yes, Asa was born, whatever it is, a minute or however many minutes,
Just as
first. Yes, correct. And that's technically the technical reason why he should have been blessed. You're right, Sylvia. Thanks for bringing that up. Okay, so let's examine first the Asav's question, the scholarly question that he asked. He asked about the Meiser, the tithe. So tithing in Judaism is a very complicated mitzvah. There's lots of intricate laws. And what he specifically didn't say, oh, how do I tithe? But he said, how do I tithe salt and straw? Okay, what do we know about salt and straw? Do we would say that they're expensive items, or is consider them like maybe cheap items?
Salt was very expensive. It
Very
was like a
expensive?
commodity, like gold.
Okay.
I don't know about straw.
But like salt is, kind of
Oh, I see. It's fine. It's a grain.
salt. I'm saying it's thin. I'm saying it's like you just need a little bit, right? I mean, yeah, there were times, it's true. So there were times that salt was considered like a big commodity, was a I guess like a currency almost. But in general, salt is, something actually that we don't give Meiser with. We don't need to give Meiser, we don't need to tithe our salt or our straw. Okay. Did we do text number 6 yet? No. Okay.
What
So
is like a straw? What is that like?
straw, like hay, like what you feed your animals, or what you sleep, or they used to sleep on in the olden days. Okay, so let's read text number 6. Valentina, want to read it since you're.
Oh, I was going to read it.
Oh, sorry, Catherine, you're right. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Keep track.
no worries. He chose straw and salt over all the other items because they are exempt from Maser, both biblically and rabbinically. This stands in contrast to other items like vegetables, which, though exempt biblically from Maser, are nevertheless obligated rabbinically. This biblical exemption is derived from the verse, a tenth of your grain, excluding vegetables that aren't grain.
Okay, so it says a tenth of your grain. So vegetables aren't grain, but straw and salt are totally exempt from everything. Okay, so now wouldn't that make Asaph look like a fool if you know that salt and straw are totally not tithed? And he asks about that, maybe sound like you're really, really, really stupid. Okay, it's like you're asking what's for lunch on Yom Kippur.
Also,
So,
the prior parsha, they got turned into the pillars of salt, the sulfur and salt.
yeah. So only a real ignorant, ignoramus would really ask this. So shouldn't Yitzhak realize right away that this guy's that his son's a fake, that he doesn't know anything, or not? That's what we're going to read in text number 7. So, Okay, I don't know why they skipped this around a little bit. Okay, text, no, whoops, did we text number 7? Oh, here, text number 7. Okay, there we go. So now, Valentina.
Sure. What kind of a question is it to ask? How does one tie, as if it different from how one ties anything else? Moreover, with this question, he was showing himself to be an ignoramus who doesn't know the law, that straw is exempt from tying. This isn't cunning at all. On the contrary, his father would say he doesn't pay attention in his studies, for if he did, he would know what's obligated and what's exempt.
Okay, so
That's
hey.
That's a really nice thing, because I've been struggling today with something like this. I've been, anyway, I'll tell you.
Okay, tell us at the end. Okay, so we're paddling this back and forth. Okay, he's tricking his father. No, how can he trick his father? Back and forth. Now we're gonna say something else. We're gonna say, hey, no, it's different. It was different back then. So yes, we don't tithe salt and straw, but this was before the Torah was given. And all the mitzvahs that were done before the Torah was given were done kind of on the person's own terms. So like, it wasn't, so they knew that there were mitzvahs, they knew there were laws, but they didn't particularly do the mitzvah with all the halachic precision that we learn in Torah, and really in the following text of the Torah, the Mishnah, the Gemara, and with all the exact details of how you observe a specific mitzvah. So there was an idea of tithing. They knew there was such a mitzvah, and so he was discussing salt and straw. But once the Torah was given, no, for sure we don't do that. But there was other things that they did before the giving of the Torah that they didn't do exactly the way we would do it today. They did it on their own terms, or whatever that meant. Okay, so there we go back. We go back to, okay, so now, yes, it is a good thing that Esav was asking his father such a detailed question. But to even prove to you how they did it, that even with this specific mitzvah of tithing, there's actually a verse in the Torah that tells us that Abraham gave the meiser to, but he didn't do it exactly how you're supposed to do it. That's text number 8. Michelle, are you able to read tonight?
Yes, I am. Sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Oh, sorry. Melchizedek said, "And blessed be the Most High, my Almighty, who has delivered your enemies into your hand." And Abraham gave him 10th of everything.
Okay, so usually you have to give a 10th of something to the Kohen, and this Melchizedek was not considered the Kohen at that time.
Where is your Torah income earned in 2024?
And also it shows that Abraham himself gave him a 10th of everything.
The lowest I've ever made.
Everything, even salt and straw. So even Abraham gave tithe from his salt and straw. So why not Esav? So it is okay for Esav to ask such a question. It is meaningful. He's not an ignoramus. So it was perfectly normal before the giving of the Torah for someone to do such a thing. Now we're going to go into another question. The question is, why are we bringing up salt and straw? What is different? Why is salt and straw a difficult thing to calculate? I can just say, okay, I have a pound of straw. I'm going to give 1/10 of this pound away to the Kohen. Why did he ask him a question of the detailing how to tie the salt and the straw, right? I have 2 bales of hay, and I'm going to give, whatever. I have 10 bales of hay. I'm going to give one of those bales to the Kohen. What's so difficult about that? Why can't you just calculate it? You just need a simple mathematical calculation to do that. Salt, on its own, it seems like nothing. It's small, it's worth nothing. But without salt, our food will all be bland, right? So you just need a little bit of salt to make our dishes, our food delicious. And straw alone is just straw, right? It's almost like trash. It's like nothing. It's not worth, doesn't seem to be worth anything. But a small amount of straw, which is light and nothing, could strengthen you when you make bricks. Or at least when they made the bricks in the olden days, they put a few, a little bit of straw in the brick, and it helped the whole brick become hard and strong. It solidified the brick. So salt and straw, even though they seem like nothing, right? Like, you whenever you're making food or something, I don't know, at least let's say I pour some salt in my hand, I put it into the food, but I always like keep some in the hand and throw that out because, maybe it's me too much. So, right, it's like, who cares? So what? You threw out a little pinch of salt. What's the big deal? But yeah, without a pinch of salt in certain foods, it would taste totally yuck. Okay, so let's read text number 9. Back to Carrie, I guess. The long one.
The common denominator between salt and straw, despite their differences, is that on their own, they have no significant value. But when mixed with other things, they bring a benefit far beyond what they offer individually. This can be plainly observed. A small amount of salt, which on its own has minimal monetary value or importance, adds flavor to a dish or food in a way that greatly enhances it far beyond the actual quantity of salt itself. Not only does it add taste, but without it, the food may be lacking altogether. The same applies to straw. In and of itself, whether as animal fodder or as fuel for an oven, etc., it has very little monetary value or significance. But when it is used to make bricks for construction, its value is greatly increased.
It continues. A second.
This was Esau's question in this unique case. There is room to say that the salt and straw tithes should not be measured by standard unit weight or count, like tithing animals, but rather by the value those items will have when actually used. If that's so, then the question regarding salt and straw becomes, how does one calculate their worth? According to their current standalone value, or according to the benefit they will produce when used in combination as flavoring, as a mixture, etc.
Okay, so good question. Is the salt what it is the do we count it alone, or do count as if it's like what its potential is? So Yitzchak was pretty impressed with Esav's thinking, and it shows how careful he was with the mitzvah of tithing. It was a very clever question. So still, why would Yitzchak want to bless only Esav and not his brother Yaakov, who he knew was a very good boy? He knew he was a very, good learner and everything. What's going on here? Okay, so on the surface level, it seems, very. One second, I'm skipping something. Okay, so we're going to get to that question, the answer to that question soon. But meanwhile, on the surface level, it seems very nice that Esav, even though maybe he wasn't such a good, character, maybe he had some, sitting issues and, had some other little side issues, but you see he had a good head. And he asked such a question, he brought up such a question, said, okay, my son Esav was able to think up of such a good question. He has really good potential, and he could be really, really good guy and go really far. So very, so that's great. But so this is really on a surface level of what we learned from this. But what does this mean for our life today? What does it mean for our service to Hashem? Okay, so first of all, this story is the first glimpse, I guess, ever of sibling rivalry. Okay, right? We see this whole family dynamic. We see Yitzchak with his personality, Yaakov with his personality, Esav with his personality, and what's going on here? What's all this about? Rivka with her personality. So let us read about the different the sources of of each of these people, where they came from, and what their like spiritual makeup was. Okay, so text number 10, Shelley.
Sure.
Great.
According to Kabbalah, Jacob is rooted in the spiritual world of tikkun, discipline, whereas Esau was rooted in the spiritual world of tohu, chaos. The lights of tohu are very powerful, but they could not be contained. As a result, the lights withdrew, leaving the containers to shatter and fall below. This is why Esau, as he manifested in this world, became a wicked person. However, when considering the ultimate root of Esau in the bright lights of Tohu, these lights were actually loftier than the lights of Tikkun.
So before the world was created, you had these different spiritual worlds, the world of discipline, Tikkun, and the world of Tohu, chaos. And the lights of Tohu, chaos, were much more powerful, but they couldn't, because they were so powerful, they couldn't be contained. They couldn't be like, held within space, like a space. And so that's, in a way, how the world was created. When people talk about the Big Bang Theory, this, I guess, alludes to an idea of a Big Bang in a Kabbalistic sense. And that's when Hashem created the world. And those lights of Tohu, of this really, really powerful light, fell into the world. And Esav came from one of these lights. And so even though it was a chaos and it fell and it broke, so in a way he couldn't harness like that great power, but that power was so powerful. That light of Tohu was way more powerful than the lights of Tikkun. If that makes any sense to you guys. But basically, Esav was coming from a much higher spiritual source, but it was hard for him to realize his potential. It's hard for him to harness his greatness, his spirit, his potential, his great abilities into action, into just being a good person, right? So I'll give you
his gifts.
His gifts, right? So I'll give you an example. Is like sometimes you have.
Sorry, when you have a moment, may I ask a question?
Sure. If it's not to do with like this, then do you mind asking at the end, or do you want to ask? Is there something right now to help you understand? Okay. So basic Esav's soul comes from such a great high place, but it was a very chaotic place. And he didn't know how to contain. So the example I was going to give you is, let's say sometimes you have, I've seen this more than once. You have a kid who's like, also like a very, not an easy kid, not an easy person, boy, whatever. Usually it's a boy. But I guess not always. And maybe in school, they're not, they have a hard time sitting and they have a hard time following the directions and this and this and that. And the next thing you hear is they go off to the army. And like, what? That kid going to the army? How are they going to follow all those rules? But because they have such a intensity, because they have such, an energy or whatever it is within them, they need that discipline of the army to like keep them on track. Because otherwise they might fall into drugs, they might fall into, bad company, this, that, the other, and get into all kinds of trouble. But they need a place like the army to keep them really, and I've seen it, and like they, become a nice, good soldier, and then they use their energies, for good. So what Esav is asking here, he didn't know how to do that. He just had this like intensity within him. He didn't realize it's coming from a deep spiritual place. And he's like, how could I evaluate these items? Here we have salt and straw, which seem like nothing, seem like just, a small little thing. Salt is a small little thing. We're always throwing some away. Straw seems like a really cheap item. But then you add it to the right thing, it has a potential of being a really, really good thing. So it has the potential of what? Of making your food delicious, right? Or whatever it is. And so what Esav is really asking his father is, hey, could I really be the person that you think I'm able to be? Could I become something much greater than what I am at the moment? Here I am. I have this wild, energetic, passionate personality, and I'm always, and it's pulling me here and pulling me there. How could I live in a disciplined lifestyle like you and follow the Torah and follow the mitzvahs. So the same thing, like with this idea of the salt and the straw. It seems like it's a nothing, but if it's done right, used right, it could be so great. Another example is, you have all these, I don't know, you see all these things about these people with ADHD, all these stories, as a kids, they had
You're
a hard
talking
time.
about me. You're talking
Yeah,
about
they
me.
couldn't learn, they couldn't this, they couldn't sit still. The teachers went nuts from them, the parents went nuts from them, and then they become these big billionaires because their minds are racing so much, and somehow they're able to harness it and use it, to make, to be a good businessman or to be great, artists in some way or another. So Yitzchak saw Esau's potential. He saw that he could become so great. He saw his passion. He saw his intensity. He said, he uses this right, he's going to go really far. He's going to be a great tzaddik. He's going to do all the right things. He's going to change the world for the good. So Yitzchak wants to tell him, I believe in you. You're a good son. Go get him, man. And let's see what happens. Text number 11. Okay. Sylvia, go for it.
Sure. This is the deeper meaning of the verse. Isaac loved Esau, for in Esau's supernal source there were sparks of holiness that had been trapped there, namely the souls of Shemaiah, is that right?
Maya, yeah.
Shemaiah and Avatalion,
good.
The soul of Rabbi Meir, and several other sparks of holiness destined not to be revealed into the days of the Messiah.
Okay, so we see that Esau in a different light now. You see, he's really coming from such a great place that the souls of Shemaiah and Avatalion, who are very great rabbis, and Rabbi Meir, who they were all rabbis that are, that we see in the Talmud, that they came from Esau's supernal source, from the same spiritual place that Esau came from. And so now we see Esau, he also had this potential to be this great somebody with so much potential, but here he is, he's struggling, he needed help, and he didn't know how to put that into the right, he didn't know how to harness it, how to guide it. And he's asking his father, and how do I do this? And his father says, yes, I want to help you. Look at you. And he puts everything into him. I see what you could become. I see how good you could be. And so he wants to bless him to give him that potential, get that potential into reality, to try to make it work. And then Esau would go really, really far. And unfortunately, even though Yitzchak tried, it didn't work. Esau did not fulfill his potential. He ended up just staying that wild, wayward man. And Yaakov, the other son, he wasn't a good boy. He already did all the things he needed to do. He didn't need that extra push. He didn't need that extra, sometimes you see the kid who needs the most help, the parents put so much into them and trying all the time. You say, hey, what's going on here? I don't get all the attention. No, you don't need the attention because you're doing good. You don't need the tutor, and you don't need this, and you don't need the extra, therapy or behavioral things and this and that. You're doing just good, just on your own. But Esau, so Esau needed that. Yaakov didn't need it. So he didn't need that extra stuff. He didn't need an extra blessing or anything like that. So how is this relevant to us? So some people, like Esau, saying, hey, how could I have all these passions. I have this. I love doing this, and I'm very strong in that. And how is it that I can be? How could I be religious and follow a very specific set of laws and do things exactly a certain way? And then I feel like my life's going to go out. I feel like I'm going to lose my passion for this or for that. I'm not going to be able to, I'm an individual. I'm unique. I want to show my uniqueness. I don't want to be a penguin, Yvette. Okay, sorry. And what's the answer? No, you don't have to be a penguin, of course. Second. Okay, so the difference is that let's look at Abraham, right? The grandfather. Abraham was Yitzchak's father. Abraham, he was full of passion. He was generous, giving, but he was also defiant, and he was against idol worship. Remember, he broke the idols in his father's shop, and he stood up to Nimrod, and all kinds of things like that. He wasn't scared to say his opinion and to do what he needed to do, and he had this passion and fire, and he was creating new things, and he made a revolution, and he was a trailblazer. He was always something new, something exciting. So he had this passion in a way like Esav did, but he started it. He started this whole new way of, well, not new, but the way that the people saw new, of looking at the world, looking at life, and realizing there's one God. Yitzhak was the opposite. Yitzhak was very tranquil, very structured, very disciplined, very stable, and he was totally dedicated to upholding Abraham's, teachings, Abraham's way. So he didn't need that passion, that fire. Oh wow, let's do this. Oh, look at this. Da, da, da. Yitzhak just was a really good, disciple of his father, and he totally dedicated everything in his life to do things the way that his father taught. And you may look at Yitzhak and say, "Oh, kind of boring, same old, same old. Where's the excitement?" But he needed that structure. And both of these types of paths in serving Hashem are both good. You can serve God with a fiery passion and, and everything. And you can serve God with, just following along a very straight, narrow path. Both of these paths have some risks. And this is where Esav comes in. So Esav actually comes from one of the words that Esav comes. We always say, oh, I know, as a kid we learned, oh, he was hairy, so his name Esav. But why? Esav comes from the Hebrew word asa, like asu, do, made. And it says Hashem, when Esav was born, he was man-made already. He was made like a man. And that's why they called him Esav. Let's read text 12a. Let's just wait 1 second. Just a little review. 12a. Eileen, you want to read it?
Sure. And they called his name Esav. Everyone called him this as he was born already made, full of hair beyond his years.
Okay, so he was already he already seemed like in certain ways like an adult, mature. So he was already made. And continue text 12b. And Lee, just do it because it's so small.
His name Esav, a complete made man, full of hair.
Okay, so Esav was complete when he was born, and he saw both models before him. He saw the thrill of the revolution that Abraham lived by. He saw the stability of responsibility that Yitzhak lived by, and he said, hey, where do I come in? He can't make a new revolution. Abraham already did that. What's he going to do? But on the other hand, he can't just sit and follow like his father. That wasn't him either. He had this burning desire to be different and to be revolutionary. And he, wanted to do something different. And that's kind of like, I don't say this generation, I don't want to call it. I mean, I think maybe every person that goes through their teenage years has a certain feeling of wanting to be different and have a new revolution, and they know better, right? So let's say like today's youth, right? You look at the parents, oh, they're old and boring. What could we do to make this world different? Look at, we don't want to be like the old people. And even if you look in the old days, the people were so worried, just about surviving, right? Having enough food to eat, having enough, having a roof over their heads, that they didn't have time to have, like, what do they call it? They didn't have such a luxury of thinking about how to change the world. They were just trying to survive. Thank God we live in a time now that we have time to think too much. And we're trying to think about all the different things that we can do or not do or this or that. And the kids today, and not even such kids, but even like when we were, we all think, hey, what could we do? How can we be different? How do we stand out? How does our generation stand out? And we look at Esav and we say, hey, what's my role here? I'm a little confused. I don't want to just be like my parents. I don't want to just survive. I don't want to, or I don't want to, do these things. How can I use, my energy for something good? And so, yeah, they have a point. I don't know if it's Gen Z. Is that the Gen Z today? I don't know. But Esav, the generation, the young people that think like that, they have a point. The answer is Yaakov. What's Yaakov? Yaakov, it says, is the chosen of all the forefathers. He followed his father. He had that structure and stability. And he also had this idea of opening new vistas, like his grandfather Abraham. So how is that? The action and the lifestyle he led was like his father, but inside he had feeling and meaning. He personalized his father's path, his father's service, to make it his own and to bring his personality and his innovation into the experience. So how do we make Judaism our own? So as I would say, obviously your religion, doesn't depend on the hat you wear or the clothes you wear or whatever it is, or the label you put on yourself. But if you have a passion, for a certain thing, your passion for art, so you make your Judaism, you bring it alive through your art. You use the art to enhance your Judaism and to make your life better. If you are intellectual, you learn, you love to, learn the Torah, learn about all the different things behind all the customs and holidays and this and that. And it can get, you can intellectually stimulate yourself. Let's say if you're a social animal, if so you use your social, you're loving your social side to get together, make it about people. Always make something for a holiday, make some, bring together people to go do a mitzvah, to help tzedakah, to help a fundraiser, whatever it is. So we can all take whatever self-expression that we love to do, we love to use, and figure out how to use that to serve Hashem. And then we are combining the Abraham within us, the Yitzchak within us, and we're creating the Yaakov within us. And it is known as Abraham represented the attribute of kindness, Yitzchak of discipline and structure, and Yaakov was Tiferes, beauty. Because beauty is the harmony of both things together, the right balance of everything together. And that is a lesson that we have from today's Parsha, from Esav, from Yitzchak, from Yaakov. Thank you guys all for joining. And first of all, Michelle, you still have a question?
Oh, I was